It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are live right now on the sports. We are live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Carte Blanche for the sports hit list by the fans and for the fans. Thank you for joining us and spending your afternoon with us on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. The NBA panel is back. Special shout out to the NFL team for holding us down all winter during the wintertime, but they are on hiatus. They're going to Cancun. They're going fishing. NBA is here. Coach, welcome back, sir. It's been a while, man. How you been?
I'm good, man. GTD stands for we got the D-Rose. D-Rose is back in New York City, and we are happy to welcome him back. So,
Pastor, Mr. Mike Miller, how you doing, sir?
Yo, what's up, my people? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies. And, of course, we cannot forget the sucker MCs, man. Black History Month, man. Shout out to Brother Malcolm.
We have Mr. Brandon Falco is back in the building. Falco, how you doing, sir, from the Falco Takeaway?
Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. Getting back on track.
And Mr. Jordan Eugene, Houston Rockets fan. Jordan, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty good.
So today I just wanted to talk about the state of the NBA. Mike, let me start with you. What teams have impressed you so far in this season, during this COVID season, I guess you can call it?
Man, Utah. I think that's last week. They played my Pacers on Sunday. I was like, or Utah. But last night, sorry, Carl, against your Celtics,
I know.
I saw something though. I saw something that was impressive last night. Last night's win showed me they do have the ingredients to win a championship. They do have, and I know people are gonna, Brandon, I don't care what you think, but I know what people gonna laugh. But they have the ingredients. Now, will they? I don't know, but I want us all we could discuss that. But Utah, by far, has been very, very impressive.
Okay, Coach, could you agree Utah's been impressive? Do you have another team out there that's been impressive to you so far?
I agree. Utah, they actually shocked me. Like, I was looking at the standings, and I think it says something like they have won, covered in 10 out of their last 15 games. Like, so that means – they're winning upon the averages that they are supposed to win. There's no upsets. They're not letting teams stick around and play tight games and, rely on last-minute jump shots to win. But also, it was a turning point because Utah started off bad. People don't remember that. Utah didn't start off the season good. They were coming off of a decent postseason, but underachieving postseason where they thought could take the next step last year. They came out the gates. It started bad. And it seems like after Shaq said those disrespectful comments, Donovan Mitchell took it to heart and started running with the team. But I'm going to not agree with Mike where I say I don't have them as a championship contender, and I'm sorry. For me to be a championship contender, I got to see it more. You got to prove something more in the playoffs. You got to do something different. And I don't know if Donovan Mitchell yet is ready to go toe-to-toe, head-to-head with a LeBron James, with a Kevin Durant, with Kawhi Leonard in a 7-game series. I just don't know if he has that yet. But they say you don't know what someone can do until they actually do it. Everyone was a loser until they were a winner. So, I guess we will see.
Jordan, do you have any teams that have impressed you, or are you going to say Utah as well?
Utah has, but I think Golden State, really is like such a sleeper. Even though the other night against San Antonio, I don't know what Draymond was on with that shot. I think Golden State, surprised me. I didn't even expect them to be top 10, and here they are technically in the top 8, with a winning record. So, okay. Falco, do you have any teams that have been impressed you so far?
Yeah, the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not going to be the guy. I'm not going to be the guy with the vanilla take saying the Utah Jazz and hype them up and try to pretend that they will compete for a title this year because they're not. Sure, they shoot very well from 3-point range. Rudy Gobert's a top defender in the league. Donovan Mitchell looks like he's taking a step up. Stop it. I remember when the Raptors won 59 games. They told me they were going to the finals. I remember the 60-win Atlanta Hawks team were going to the finals. Stop the nonsense. Once the playoffs come, the best players are going to thrive, and I don't think the Jazz have that true number one option to actually compete for a title yet. I've been following this league too long to really buy into a regular season team that's having some success right now. So stop the nonsense. The Jazz are not legit. The Los Angeles Lakers are better than they were last year, and they're going to run it back again.
Davis is worse this year than he was last year. Stop it.
Coach,
Hold on, time out. What was that?
Hold on.
It's a fact. Anthony Davis is worse this year than he was last year.
He's struggling. He's struggling right now. LeBron has been in his bag. He's going to win his 5th MVP. And Dennis Schroeder was the perfect guy that the Lakers need in this offseason. A guy who could handle the ball, a guy who could create his own shot, shoot from the perimeter, get to the rim, which he does very well. And Montrezl Harrell's just been a beast on both ends of the floor. Those two guys are why the Lakers are going to run it back. AD's struggling from the line. It doesn't look like his looks are as efficient and as clean as they were last year. I just think as time, maybe he's dealing with the injury. I don't know. Every game since like last year, I feel like he's dealt with a catastrophic injury that he's happened to get over in one day. And then eventually he's fine. So I think once the season progresses more, as we get closer to the playoffs, AD will be AD again. He's still a top 5 player in the league.
But I mean, how can a team necessarily be impressed? You know that they're defending champions and we know what they're capable of. Like, were you really that surprised? Were you really that surprised that they were going to come out the gate and play well? I mean, they still have LeBron James playing at a high level, Anthony Davis. How impressed could you really be with the Lakers? Because we know that they're going to be there.
They got better than they were last year. They're the top defensive team in the league and a top 10 offensive team in the league. They're just getting better. So if I don't care what they did last year, I'm still impressed by them. It's more impressive than what the Jazz are doing.
Let's get on to
doing. I could say I'm impressed by what Joel Embiid's doing, but the defending champions and the best player in the league is proving that once again.
Okay.
We got to go to the real impressive team. Now I know people are gonna come at me. I know the chat is gonna get on fire, but I don't talk about them usually. But the Knicks have been impressive.
Yeah.
As a real Knicks fan,
absolutely,
who really doesn't take credit because I know how much that comes back on you when they struggle. I've been impressed by what I've seen on the team. They're a top, I think, 5 defensive team, which is usually Tibbs and his doing, but that shows you coaching does matter. He's taking a team that is new. Almost the whole nucleus of the team is brand new, and they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. They're fighting for a playoff spot when everyone thought they would be one of the worst teams in the league. They're actually added a veteran who wanted to come to New York. If you listen to D-Rose in his interview, he said, I wanted a second chance at New York. Now, mind you, people saying that New York Knicks will never be relevant in the city because of the Nets. When he said New York, everybody know he meant the Knicks, and he wanted to come to the Knicks because there's a reason why he said all the players told him before, if you get a chance to do it again with the Knicks. And the Knicks have been impressive so far. We know they're not winning the championship. We know that. But to be decent, to be able to watch an entire game and see them fight against some of the better teams in the NBA. They're not just playing against the worst teams. They're taking some of the better teams in the NBA to the last couple possessions from a team last year that no one wanted to watch is impressive.
Jordan, let me ask you this. I'm just looking at the Eastern Conference, and I don't know if record really matters at this point, but the 3rd best record in the East is...
Why not, Carl?
Because, hold on. Can I finish?
Hold on. We won.
I know.
Away.
Listen, I'm going to get to that point, but just take a look at the conference, the records in the East. You got clearly the Sixers are 18-7. Then you have Milwaukee at 16-8, and then from 3 on, it's 14-12, 12-11, 12-12 are the Pacers at 5th. Then Charlotte is at 12-13, and so forth. Does the record really matter at this point, Jordan? Do you think?
No, because I mean, like you see Brooklyn is like what? I mean, 14-12 around there. Yeah, 14-12. I mean, Brooklyn is still my pick to win the East. They're still my pick to make it that far and go to the championship and actually win the championship. I actually wanted to touch on what Falco said. I don't think AD is a top 5 player in the league. I still don't know who he like. I don't know how he fits top 6, but not top 5.
Top 5.
Top 6, not top 5.
He's not 6, so he's 5.
I can name 5 players better than I can name 5 players off dome. Off dome, James Harden's better.
No, he's not. James Harden's not better than Anthony.
James Harden's better. Giannis is better. KD is better.
Yeah,
right.
I agree with everything.
Steph is better.
Steph is better.
Harden is just not better than him.
And then, honestly, I think Embiid's better as well.
No, he's not.
I think Embiid's better
than Anthony Davis.
That's debatable. That's clearly debatable.
Listen, Carl, we're not going to say. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Because you're on delay. My fault, Mike.
If we keeping it 100, if we keeping it 1,000, Anthony Davis has the same numbers as Donovan Sabonis right now. He got the same numbers.
A worse season than he did last year. We're not going to define him what he did in this 20-game stretch. I would say when you're ranking players, you have to do it before the season and after.
Mike, watch your thumb, bro.
You can't do it during a season. because things change throughout a season, injuries.
Right, but the question is, if we're talking about the top 5 best players right now, he's saying Anthony is not even in the top 5, and he's not playing well.
Season, sure, but in terms, I'm still counting him a top 5 player in the league. When we're ranking players, you do before the season and after the season. You don't do it mid-season.
Wait, Mike just made a point.
I'm different. I ain't never think he was a top 5 player. So,
Mike, are you saying you're not giving a lifetime achievement award? Is that what you're saying?
No. So you just, first of all, who put Anthony Davis as a top 5 player? You don't automatically become a top 5 player because you play with Bron. No.
You're the one who said LeBron can't play with a traditional big man. No. So I don't want to hear it. You said you made a 9-minute video on your couch saying LeBron can't play with the traditional big man.
Here we're going back to this point again. We're going in circles.
Mike Miller is the equivalent to Max Kellerman. Like sometimes you got like a great point, and other times you got the most outlandish takes ever. That's what he's going.
Mike. He's going back to your point.
He's more outgoing Max Kellerman. That's Mike Miller.
Stupid. Yo, your man got the same numbers as Donovan Sabonis right now. Holla at me.
And he's not even playing because he has a sore Achilles. But that's beside the point.
Let's hold on, Carl. We ain't gonna take this away from my Knicks. The records count right now. Damn you, Eugene. Damn you, Eugene. You ain't gonna do that to the Knicks.
I think they can make honestly, Coach, I genuinely think the Knicks can make the playoffs as an 8th seed. I genuinely think the Knicks can make it as an 8th seed.
I would love for the game. We won't beat them, but I would love for the Knicks to make the 8th seed, the Nets to make the 1st seed. And we can play the Nets in the playoffs. I think for the city of New York, for basketball, it'll be very exciting. And I think the way the Knicks play defense, they can make it a game. You know, they can make it a game. They won't win, but because of the way the Knicks play defense, they slow teams down. Look, the Clippers are one of the best offensive teams in the league. When we played them, it was about a 7-6 point game most of that game. So the Knicks have a way of slowing. They play, I think, the slowest rate per possession in the NBA. So it's not really about that much talent. It's about how you play the game. They slow the game down, so you have to slow the game down. So I think it'd be good for the city if they could sneak in the playoffs.
Alco, what's so funny? What are you laughing at? Aren't you a Knicks fan? So what's so funny?
The Knicks are not competing with the Nets. It would be a blowout sweep. 4 games at most.
It would just do something for the city. It would just.
But hold on. What's a blowout though?
So they win. So they're gonna win. It's be a game.
How much? So they're gonna win by 20 every game. That's what you're trying to tell me.
Yes. I don't care that the Nets are struggling right now.
They're not gonna win by 20 every game, Falco. Even the best of the teams in the world don't do that on sweeps. What do you talk? Watch the game.
They're just historically bad defense right now. That is going to change as the season goes on. And once the playoffs come, it's a slower game and guys play harder on defense. They have a playoff spot. The only thing the Nets should care about right now is staying healthy into the playoffs. That is the only thing that matters. I don't care if they're the 1 seed, 28. It doesn't matter. They're still capable into the finals.
Oh, this is your fault. We let these little kids come in.
My fault? Why is it my fault?
Let these little kids come in saying nonsense, and you just allow this to happen, man.
All right. Well, you know what? Let me ask Coach a question.
I don't want to be called a little kid because I'm much bigger than you, so I don't want to hear it.
No.
Don't call me a little kid. I'm bigger than you.
Coach, let me ask you, a.k.a. Travis Kelce in the face.
Coach, let me ask you a question as it pertains to my team, the Boston Celtics. They've been struggling out the gate. Kemba doesn't look like Kemba. And I know we've known Kemba and how he's been able to play and be explosive. I don't know if he's still hurt and they're not saying anything, but he just doesn't look right. So what are your thoughts here looking at the Celtics as they play? Clearly, yes, they still have I believe the 4th best record in the league, but it's really not showing.
Listen, Danny Ainge, it's time to pull off a big trade for a point guard. It is time. Yep. Like, you have to do it. This is it. And you owe nobody nothing. Like, Kemba is not, and I love Kemba. It's New York City pride, Rice High School, Bronx, New York. I rep Kemba to the fullest, what he did at UConn, but you owe nobody nothing. Everyone except for Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart are available to be traded to upgrade your team, to make a jump, to try and win the East. You have to. If you could get even a Kyle Lowry, if you put something together for Kyle Lowry to be with the Boston Celtics, you figure that out. They need a change. They need a key player to come in there, put everybody on the market. No one's untouchable except for those 3 players that I just named, and you got to make a run. Because here's what happens. If the Boston Celtics do not get to the championship this year, it's time. It's time. New coaches, new players. It is time.
New GM.
Why is that the
time.
new GM? I understand, but why a new coach? They're talent. They're for talent. They're not projected to win.
It's a new coach. Why isn't it always a new coach? Listen,
I don't think they have the talent to win this year.
They've made the Eastern Conference Finals 3 out of the last 4 years with Brad Stevens and not been able to get to the finals.
Last year was the only one where talent for talent, I guess you could say.
This is what we got to get to it. With no other coach in the NBA, every other coach who makes it to somewhere and stays there for 3 or 4 years, they're writing on the wall. Always. Name another coach it hasn't happened to.
It's just I didn't think they had the cats to really get to the finals. Besides last year.
Did the Houston Rockets have the talent to win the finals when Mike D'Antoni was having all that pressure on him to get to the finals? No.
2018?
They weren't better than the Warriors. They weren't better than the Warriors.
Wait. Okay. Hold on.
Y'all weren't better than the Warriors, Jordan.
Wait. Because now you're mentioning Houston. No, hold on. 2018, we saw what happened. 3-2 lead.
Yeah,
they're not better.
No. Eugene, hear me out, Eugene. That's what I meant to Brandon earlier. A good team can win a series against another good team, depending on how the matchups go. I'm not saying you guys were trash. I'm saying in that series, you guys played better than the Warriors. You wanted it more than the Warriors, and an injury is what stopped you from winning. But on paper, if you thought who was the favorite coming into that series, the favorite was clearly the Warriors.
Golden State,
So my point meaning is after 4 years of Mike D'Antoni never getting to the promised land, it was never said, oh, you're cool because we never expected you to win a championship. It was, you got us to this point. Time to move on.
Right.
Same with Brad Stevens. You got us to this point. You can't get over the hump. Time to move on. We did it in Oklahoma City. It's time to do it.
So, Mike, is there a trade? I like the trade for Karl Anthony Towns to Boston. Can the Celtics pull off a trade that could possibly get them over the Nets or over the hump, or it's just a lost cause?
Yo, I think that's a perfect trade because I think the problem you've had exists the problem you guys have is the problem the Warriors had that nobody could actually exploit. You guys suck on in terms of rebounding, in terms of in the paint. There's no defensive presence. There's nothing. Rudy Gobert was getting whatever he wanted on pick and rolls, everything, because your paint presence is horrible and your perimeter guys are not good enough to offset that. The Warriors, when they had the weakness in the paint, you couldn't exploit that because their perimeter was 10 times better than your paint presence that you had. Karl Anthony Towns literally solves the problem. He solves the problem. Even Andre Drummond name who's floating out and, Cleveland talking about getting rid of him or something like that. Andre Drummond would fit y'all because you have a rebounder and somebody that's good. You just need somebody in the paint. Your perimeter is set. We got to remember, Kemba just came back last week. So he hasn't been healthy. And thanks a lot, Kemba, for cooking the Warriors and stuff, because I had a feeling. I was like, yo, Kemba gonna cook Steph because he sees Steph coming, he gonna cook him. I knew he was gonna play good, but Kemba's working his way back. But like Max said, and Carl, we've been talking about this for years, Brad Stevens is cute when you working with a Baylor type of team or Butler team where nobody expects you to do anything, but you got talent and you can't do it. So it may be a time to move that seat. If you still can't make it happen, it may be time, but I hate blaming coaches. I think players always got to step their game up. Oh, and Marcus Smart is hurt too. So.
Mike, I agree. I'm not blaming Brad Stevens, but I always talk about we got to keep the same energy. Billy Donovan, OKC, Tom Thibodeau, Chicago Bulls, Brad Stevens for the Boston Celtics. There comes a time where after 5 or 6 years, if you don't make the leap, it just falls on the people who are at the top. That's just how it works. College basketball, NFL, it happens in every sport. But Brad Stevens, and I think he's an excellent X and O's coach. He's an excellent coach, period. But it just comes a time when you start to see the golden boys of different sports. They're the anomalies. And I think Brad Stevens is one of the anomalies. I don't think he gets fired. I think he survives. But the fact that we're not hearing any noise around it makes my point more clear. He's an anomaly to what we usually do to coaches in different professional arenas.
Overall thoughts of watching the Nets play together. And I know there have been rumblings, and every single time they play together, the big three, it seems like Jordan they're on the watch. Everyone watches everyone hangs on every single little thing that the Nets do. So does it really matter now, or are we waiting till the postseason, Jordan?
Relax. Stop.
I asked Jordan. I'm gonna get to you. I said Jordan. I'll get to you, Falco. Just wait a second, bro. I'll get to you. Go ahead, Jordan.
Just like Brandon said, I mean, yeah, it's really like 30 games and you're already like overreacting. 26 games actually. You're already overreacting. I mean, at this point, like, just relax. Give Harden some time. Give KD some time. Give Kyrie some time. Rome wasn't built in a day. So, I mean, you know, once we get to the later part of the season and once we get to the postseason, and then Harden doesn't really need to take control of the team anymore and do this and that, and Kyrie, he could leave it to Kyrie and KD to really show up. Nets are going to the championship.
Falco, you agree? I could tell you agree.
100%. The Nets have nothing to worry about. They are just fine. It's good. Like, each of these three guys just need to find their role, what is going to work best for them. They're still putting up points every single night. And their main problem is, obviously, we all know it's defense. They're like historically like the worst team ever or something. Mm-hmm. I think that's just a coaching adjustment, which Steve Nash is his first year coaching. I just think it's something he's got to figure out. I think the guys got to figure out their roles and know what works best for them, which over time that will happen. Like Jordan said, Rome was not built in a day. I did not expect him to come out and just run the tables in the 72-game regular season and be the number one seed in the East. I just said once they get there, then they will cakewalk through every single team in the Eastern Conference, and they will make the finals in 15 games or less. It's all going to take some time, but once the chips are on the line and games matter, the defense is going to get tighter, the games are going to slow down more, and you have two guys that I probably would trust with the ball in their hands late in the game, almost over anyone in the league right now, to create their own shot and get you a clutch bucket, which is Kyrie Irving and a Kevin Durant. There's no other two guys to create your own shot in an ISO situation when you need a bucket. The Nets have two of those guys. So I think James Harden needs to play more of that point guard role, which he is. His points per game, which I said before the season, got to drop about 10 points a game, which I believe is at 24 a game. He's leading the league in assists, which I like that. Kyrie's got to be used as a weapon, and KD's got to be the alpha male of that team. And as they figure out how to play together, they're going to be better. They will be just fine. I've been following this league too long to overreact to a slow start, which I predicted before this season.
Mike, are you concerned about the Nets' lack of defensive intensity right now, or can they just switch it on? Because that's what we like to say as fans is like, oh, a good team will turn it up when they need to. Are you concerned, or is it something that you're not worried about?
No, I'm not concerned at all. And an interesting stat that I think most people have heard and know, they're 7-11 against bad teams. They're 7-1 against teams over 500. They beat Utah, Denver, Clippers, Bucks, 76ers, Celtics, the Lakers because they ain't play them yet. So, no, I'm not. And so the thing about defense, and a lot of people are doing this stupid thing where we're making defense and offense 1-to-1. It's not 1-to-1. Like, the name of the game is to put the ball in the basket. You got to get timely stops. You don't have to be the Detroit Pistons of 2005. No team has to be that. It's great if you have both, but if you don't, if you had to pick one that you need less of, you need less defense and more offense. They just have to get their defense okay-ish. That's how great this offense, since they've been together, is the greatest offense in NBA history statistically. They just have to get okay defense. They're not like other teams where you got to get like at least a top 5. No, they can be a top 10. They can even be a top 15. Everybody points to a team that won a championship that was out of the top 10. The 2001 Lakers, which to me, I have 3 teams that are greatest teams of all time. 96 Bulls, 2001 Lakers, 17 Warriors. That 2001 Lakers team was not a great defensive team. I think the stat was they were ranked 22nd, but they ran through the Western Conference and then they ran through the championship and beat AI's team. This next
but
team,
here's the difference though. AI's team is not the defending champion Lakers though, Mike. That's a difference.
That Lakers team does not have this kind of firepower. They have Kobe and Shaq. This team has 3 guys like that. So it's a different kind of – that Lakers team wasn't this kind of offense. This offense right here is so historic. That Nets team just has to be decent defensively. And again, I know they're not going to get a bunch of people. They got 3 they're getting 1 big man, but they got 2 other spots. They could throw a guy in there. They don't need a great – Andre Robinson's a name that's been floating. They could get 1 or 2 good defenders. KD plays great defense. They will be absolutely fine. Ain't no team in the East going to beat them in a 7-game series.
Coach, do you agree with the rest of the panel? You as the player, how important is getting your defensive prowess going? A lot of championship teams we've seen, they play defense during the season. They don't just wait till the postseason to turn it on. So does it make sense for them to do that or no?
I mean, it depends on if you're a Nets fan, what do you want this year? Like, if you're looking to just probably make the finals, yeah, sure, you're fine. But I don't think that's what they're here to do. They're here to win the finals. They're trying to win it this year. This is not, even with Miami Heat and LeBron, I gave them more of a cushion, even though LeBron's LeBron. I don't care what anybody says. I gave the Heat, when LeBron got down there, more of a cushion because that Miami Heat team had a lot of younger players, not a lot of vets. You know, they had Mario Chalmers was the starting point guard. You had your Udonis Haslem. You had, they had to get the Ray Allen his first year. It was a lot of moving pieces. Eric Spoelstra. This team with the Nets, this is year what for Kyrie? This is year what for KD? This is year what for James Harden? KD already has 2 championships. James Harden has finals MVPs. Kyrie has championships. This is a year where I want the Nets to win the championship. I'm not even a Nets fan. And if I have to talk as a Nets fan, I want them to win a championship. So let me tell you something. You're not going to do that if you don't play defense.
We need to give Joe Harris some respect. The dude's shooting close to 50%.
No, I'll give Joe Harris, but you're not. Can you guys can hear me back now?
Yeah, you're fine. You're good.
Sorry, I got a phone call. You're not going to do it with defense. You got to have. Listen, you got to be one of the top 5 to 10, and it's not just all defense. It's certain parts of defense that wins you championships in the NBA. Certain parts of defense. Field goal percentage, points per game allowed. Mike alluded to it. The Lakers in 2001 were one of the anomalies. They were 23rd in the league in points per game. They were 23rd. But that's when Shaq is giving you 30, Kobe's giving you 30. The Nets have that opportunity, but the league is a little different now. You got to get timely stops. So if the Nets want to win a championship, they need to figure out defensive rotations immediately because the game slows down. You're not averaging 121 points, 125 points in the playoffs or the finals. We know that's not happening. The game is going to slow down. Those average, and Brandon, you know better than me, those over totals go a little lower in the playoffs and the championship. Those
100%.
They go a little lower. So I'm a little worried as someone, if I'm rooting for the Nets and I want to win a championship this year, I'm worried with how my defense looks. We have time to fix it, but who's the defensive architect of that team? It's not Steve Nash. It's not Mike D'Antoni. I think it's supposed to be Jacques Vaughn. He's supposed to be the defensive specialist. You got to get it together. Iman Shumpert, what are you going to do to help this rotation? Because the bench, you don't get better defensively with your bench too much right now. You don't. You really don't get better defensively with your bench. You're bringing in Joe Harris. You're bringing in the French kid. I don't know his name. He's a wing player. He shoots threes. He plays no defense. Who's going to get stops? When it comes down to it, who's going to get stops for the team? And that's what it's going to come down to when you're going to face the Lakers or you're going to face, the Warriors. Not the Warriors, excuse me. The Lakers or the Bucks in the East or the Miami Heat. Who gets stops? Miami Heat can get some stops.
Don't mention them, Max. You know they're not.
I don't know if Miami's coming back. I don't know if Miami's coming back.
Listen, I don't know if Miami's going back, but I know this: if they get hot, they can get hot. They got shooters. They can score 120 right with you. It's going to come down to who's going to get the most stops in a row. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Mike, let me ask you this question: are you surprised when a player nowadays scores 50 points? Because we've seen a lot lately, like the scoring in the NBA clearly has been at an absolute high. Guys are shooting a lot more. So when players, and I know shout out to our guy, Mr. Numbers, he puts up every night players scoring 36, players scoring 40, players scoring 45. We've seen 50-point games. Are you surprised, or is it kind of like, it's one of those things that just happens in the league now?
And you never should somebody scoring 50 points. If you actually seen it happen, Matt could probably tell you because he's probably someone that scored 50 before. I don't care where you at. Scoring 50 is difficult to do. Scoring 30 is difficult to do in a rec league, let alone scoring 50 in the NBA. I don't care who does it. That's
hit my YouTube. Hit my YouTube for my Italian highlights. Get my likes up.
I'm still waiting to play one-on-one. Still waiting for the one-on-one.
Too young. You have to earn your right to challenge him, okay? You got to get some credit. You got to get some credentials first. Stop it, okay? But 50 points is 50 points. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care how many people are doing it. That's great to see, especially when you're watching the games and seeing how, because the way Steph scored 57 on the Mavs was different than the way Bradley Beal scored 60 or the way Trae Young. Everybody's scoring in different ways. This is beautiful. That's why the NBA made the rules the way they did, so that we can see this type of scoring outburst. So it's phenomenal. I love it. But I do want to talk about Utah real quick for us. Well, after you get to everybody else, I want to talk about Utah.
Well, you know what? Go ahead and just elaborate a little bit about you. What about Utah? What about them?
About Utah, because the service is messing up. Here's my thing about Utah. Matt kind of mentioned it a little bit about you. Everybody's a loser until they're a winner. I'm not saying this is the same, but with the Warriors in 2015, the criticisms that the Warriors had were similar to the criticisms we're giving for Utah. It was jump shooting teams can't win. It was playing like that only works in the regular season. It was, oh, well, they lost the last year. And then they got into the playoffs. And they ran through the playoffs. Now, of course, they had some 6-game series here and there. Then they won the championship. And then everyone said, well, that only happened because Kyrie and Kevin Love wasn't there. Then the next regular season, they broke the record, ran through the league again. So what I'm saying about Utah is they do have all of the ingredients. People forget that before super teams is making us forget how teams normally work. How teams normally work is you draft your franchise player, then you build around him, and he will elevate your team. That is what Utah did. That's what Utah's doing. That's what Golden State did. Utah has their franchise player. Donovan Mitchell looks like what D-Wade looked like in 2006. So you have that. You have your guy in the paint, in the anchor. You have your wing players and Bogey and Joe Ingles and Mike Conley who can create offense for themselves and for others. You have shooters everywhere. You have your in-between game with Donovan Mitchell. So you're not Houston where you only shoot threes or make layups. They have the ingredients to win a championship. Will they? We don't know. But the ingredients are there. That's just what I wanted to say.
So that means the past is putting the collection plate on the Utah Jazz come the playoff time?
And you're trying to do too much. That's not.
Well, the soliloquy that you just gave us makes me believe that the collection plate will be placed on the line for the Utah to make it to the finals, no?
It will not be passed on them. I'm saying that if it happens, on the pace, they're 20-5, Carl. On pace, that's what's different than the Atlanta Hawks when they didn't have anyone on that team averaging more than 17. That's different. The Utah Jazz have a clear franchise player. The Atlanta Hawks, it was a little bit of Al Horford, a little bit of Joe Johnson here and there, a little bit of Jeff T. This is Donovan Mitchell's team. So, no, I'm not putting the collection plate on them, but I wouldn't be shocked if they made it out the West. Put it that way.
Okay, Coach, talk about the Clippers and a team that we haven't really touched upon yet, and how you see their progression after their terrible loss in the bubble last year. Are they still a threat or a contender, or kind of to what you said, they have to win, and the Clippers really haven't won yet? So are they still in that mix to it?
You want to know what I think about the Clippers? I don't think about the Clippers. Like, no, but that's not to be disrespectful. And I think the Clippers like it this way. The Clippers never won it, even when, besides Paul George, when he signed and he made the hoopla, and we all know what he did. And, players like Kawhi, he never wanted that attention. He didn't want it to be about the battle for LA. He's never been that type of player. In Toronto.
No, wrong. Hold on. Wait, time out. Before I didn't cut you off real quick. What was Kawhi's commercial opening day last year?
I don't care what a commercial
is. Listen, he wanted it. And embraced it.
Brandon, no.
Yes.
Listen.
That's one commercial.
That's marketing. Do you think for 1 second that Kawhi Leonard went in there with that marketing plan and said, "Hey, I want to be branded the king of LA. Let's put me on a New Balance commercial." No. That's marketing.
No.
That's marketing.
Come on,
man. Kawhi himself? No.
That's commercial. What was the purpose of that commercial? Come on, be honest.
Here's the difference. No. That's marketing his team. He has a contractual
Stop.
obligation.
Don't do that. What was the purpose of that commercial? What was the
to
purpose
make
of that
money.
commercial?
To make money.
Oh my God! Don't do no. He had a Terminator commercial. You could say that was for money. The one for the King of LA with his crown keychain, that was not for marketing. We know exactly what that was. That was to take a shot at LeBron, Raymond James. Everyone knows it. You cannot watch that and not think of the real reason why they did it.
Do you know? Let me ask you a question. Do you know what Ray Jarvis and I do on a daily basis? Do you not think that LeBron knew about it? Yeah, like, do you not know it's called booking? Like, that's what we do. Like, stop it. They book it because LeBron probably was behind the scenes during that commercial shoot, and he's laughing at it. Like, come on. He knew what they knew what they were doing, man. Stop it. Come on, man.
But
you can't
to finish my point, I think the Clippers like where they are right now. They got to get people healthy. Paul George, before his little foot injury, he was starting to play better, but nobody cares about Paul George in the regular season. We care about Paul George in the playoffs. The Clippers do not want to be in the topic of conversation every week. They would like to just play basketball, get to the playoffs, and have less energy on them. I don't care what no one says. Last year, that bubble was different. I've talked to NBA players who said, you have no idea how great my body felt, not traveling, not leaving at 3 a.m., not getting on a flight and landing at 5 a.m., to be able to go back to my room and just sleep and wake up. He said, this season, you're not going to see that. So some of those teams that were great last year aren't going to be as great. And we're seeing it. The Dallas Mavericks struggle.
Miami Heat.
We're seeing the Miami Heat struggle with injuries. With injuries, you can't get the same treatment on a bus or a plane that you can get if you're going right back to the sports medicine department in Disney. So it's a lot of moving pieces that are changing some of these players, and people are having to adjust. I think the Clippers are exactly where they want to be. Under the radar, they might make a move, get another player to help push that team to another level, and they just want to get in the playoffs in that 3-4 home court advantage for the first round and see what happens after that. There's no pressure on them this year. Like, honestly, there's no pressure. The pressure's on the Nets. Took all that pressure from them. The Lakers got the pressure because they got LeBron, and now the Nets got all the pressure. Giannis has more pressure than the Clippers. The Clippers, people not even talking about them right now. They're under the radar. Yeah. People still gonna put I want to see what Giannis is gonna do before I worry about what the Clippers are gonna do. Like, he's still the reigning MVP. He's still the reigning MVP who's never been to a championship. I gotta see if he stayed and took the money thinking that they're gonna win. So I want to see what they're doing more than I worry about the Clippers.
Jordan, do you agree about the Clippers? Are they flying under the radar right now and just worried about getting to the playoffs?
100%. To be honest with you, I think last year was like, again, I agree that it was also for marketing for the most part. I mean, it's just so then it intensifies because everybody assumed that the Western Conference Finals was most likely going to be Clippers-Lakers. But obviously the Nuggets ended that. But ultimately, the Clippers right now are just quiet. They're just playing basketball. They're just doing what they got to do. And then, I mean, I don't think they'll make it to the Western Conference Finals again. Personally, I don't think they would. But, just Clippers are just playing basketball right now and staying under the radar.
One last quick question. Let me serve it to Mike. Mike, do you think what's going on with Dallas? Having Luka, and we thought that they would have a breakout year, and they seem to not be having it. So what are your thoughts quickly on Dallas?
Last year, a lot of cat for Dallas.
yeah. What are your thoughts on Dallas?
Yeah, shouts out to my bro Banks, man. We've been talking about it too. His Dallas Mavericks, man. They
wait, Mike. Sorry. We need Dallas to lose. We got your pick, bro. I'm rooting for you to lose. I watch more Dallas Maverick game than I watch Knicks games. We need you to lose. I need the Dallas Mavericks.
But I think it's a bunch of layers to why they're losing. Number one, Luka is not really making anyone better. That's like, aside from all the crazy numbers, he's not really making anyone better. Number two, they underestimated losing Seth Curry and losing a three-point shooter. Three, KP, we got to stop saying KP can be something. We keep just talking about potential, but he's hurt all the time, and he doesn't play great. They gave up 147 to the Warriors last week because the Warriors didn't have a single person over 6'7". KP was shooting threes. He's just not like that, bro.
Mike, who won who won? And I'm not just saying this because I know it's a lot of Knicks today, but who won that trade now? The Knicks or Dallas? Who won that trade now?
Go ahead, Mac. Yo, Mac, they say talk your shit, Mac.
Nah, because, I stay quiet.
Hold on. The Knicks lost that trade because the idea was to create cap space for Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
No. That wasn't the idea. The idea was to get better. We wasn't just going after KD and that's it. That wasn't just it.
That was the purpose of the trade.
The Knicks. Who won the trade? Who's playing better as a team right now? Who has better options for the future? Who's picked? Emmanuel quickly was a part of that trade. He's looking like he could be a bona fide starter in a year and a half. Let's be honest. The Knicks won that trade.
The Knicks lost that trade on June 30th, 2019, or July 1st, 2019.
Stop.
Lord.
Stop the cat.
Okay.
Stop the cat.
Okay. One last topic
Stop
I want to
the cat.
touch to you guys before I go. Coach, the Dallas Mavericks and the national anthem. The Dallas Mavericks decided that they were not going to. They haven't played the national anthem all season long. And they said that they weren't going to continue to play it. But then now the NBA released a statement saying that every team must continue to play the national anthem. What are your thoughts here with that?
Listen, we know what it is. Man. Nobody even knew the anthem wasn't being played at the Dallas game. Nope. This is the whole point about the anthem. Listen, it's all brainwashing. Nobody cares. When I go to work, I don't stand up and listen to the national anthem. I respect the flag. I respect all those who died, who fight for it. And if they came to me and said, Jamal, if you stand for the anthem, that means a lot for me, I'm going to listen to them because they put their lives on the line. I respect them. But nobody cares about it. Nobody cares. The Dallas Mavericks went 13 games and didn't play it once, and not one person asked a question. Now, all of a sudden, they release that information and another statement comes out. We know what it is. It's all political. It's all to divide people, to divide us. It's to make us argue with each other and start conversations about what we agree with and what we don't agree with. None of us own the Mavericks. None of us care if the anthem is being played. So I don't care. Play it if you want. If you don't want to play it, don't play it. It ain't bothering me. It ain't changing my life.
Falco, what are your thoughts on the Mavericks and the national anthem scandal, or whatever you want to call it?
I mean, I had no idea that they weren't playing it. I just found out after the statement was released. But I can't stand it. I think every team should play the national anthem. You stand up with your hand over your heart and you respect those who fought for this country, because the people who've died for this country, looking back on that, I just think it's a slap in the face of them. I don't like it whatsoever. But at the end of the day, I just feel like something like that is just dividing the country. A term of unity in this country was September 12th. Of 2001. That was unity of this country when everyone came together after a United States tragedy. Kneeling for the anthem or the not playing the national anthem or teams staying in their locker for the national anthem, that is terms of dividing the country, which is exactly what's happening there. I'm not fond of it whatsoever, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and
listen. Hold on, B. And B, this ain't for you. Sorry, this for the people listening. This for the people listening. When I go to concerts, when I go to opera concerts, classical music concerts, when I go to stadium tours for rappers or singers or any kind of music, they don't play the anthem.
They don't.
The anthem, this entire thing started when the government wanted to pump being patriotic.
Mac, you taking my thunder, bro.
Greg, go ahead, Greg. I know you. We both political.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to Greg, but
I know a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
But it all started as to get people patriotic so people can join the army. That's what it started as. We need to promote. We want to put our commercials in there. But we don't do it for everything else. Like that's my problem. We only do it for sporting events that garner millions and millions of dollars in terms of people watching in their eyes. So if we're going to really make a stand, let's do it in everything. Let's make sure everybody plays the anthem if it's going to be like.
Jordan, real quick, what are your thoughts on that, on the anthem?
I still don't really. I mean, ultimately, like Kaepernick, when he kneeled and he did all what he did all those years ago, essentially, like he explained the purpose. He explained it to Nate Boyer, who used to be in the army, who used to be in the armed forces. So, genuinely, I mean, he said if you don't want to stand, you can kneel. That's more respectful. I mean, kneeling is a sign of respect if you really do think about it in some way, but it also catches eyes at the same time. And honestly, if you want to play it, like Coach said, play it, but it really doesn't. I mean, it doesn't affect me if they do play it, if they don't play it.
Mike, what are your thoughts here with that, with the anthem and what happened with Dallas?
But I love the troops. Man,
Carl, I was going to leave it at what Max said until I heard what Brandon said. I love this idea that we can always just pinpoint these isolated moments where we celebrate the flag or things like that, and then say this is some United States of America when you had, this is the same country that 246 years there was chattel slavery, 100 years was Jim and Jane Crow. We still got mass incarceration. The idea that we could just minimize the pain and suffering that has been going on in this country as a reason for why we protest and see these protests, to diminish them, to say, well, this divides the country, and it's not the racist policies that we have inflicted upon us for almost 402 years is disgusting to me. So the idea that we care that much more about an anthem that has racist lyrics in it, the idea that we care more about that and that unites us more than actually dealing with the social injustices and ills within this country is funny to me. That's what we care about. But it's too much to be said on that. So I'm gonna let.
Hold on, but Mike, listen. I don't blame a lot of people for how they feel. You know why? Because it takes a while for people to really understand and really learn and really hear other people's ideologies and viewpoints, to see the pain and to really understand why people do things. So I think there's a lot of people out there who still just think it was about kneeling and still think it was about disrespecting and really don't understand and take the time to be taught or to really educate themselves on the different issues.
Mac, I think a lot of people don't still misunderstand. I think a lot of people understand exactly what it is and don't care. I think they understand their position.
It's what they're protesting.
It's choose their position. That's the cop out. The cop out is, well, I really didn't know that they're protesting for slavery protesting for police brutality, even though Cap said it. Or I really don't know why they're protesting. I'm confused.
No, I'll get you on that, Mike. But I say it like this: if you were born and raised, in as a Muslim, from the time you were born, right? Oh. By the time you become 24 years old, if I try to talk to you about Christianity, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very difficult because you've been indoctrinated. You've been taught something. You've seen only something from the time you were born to you were 24 years old. So that's what I mean. I think a lot of people on the surface may think they understand, but they don't actually, because there's a certain way you're brought up and live. And there's a certain way you see things differently. So it takes time for you to see things in different ways on different levels. So I'm not saying that people would just say, oh, the easy way out. Oh, we don't know what's going on. Or we didn't know this. No, they know what's going on, but they don't truly understand because they got 20, 30, 15 years of being brought up one way.
Okay, so let me get to Coach. Sorry to cut you off. I know Greg wanted to touch upon the Dallas Mavericks before we let the NBA team go. Greg, what are your thoughts here on the national anthem and what's going on with that?
So I think Mac touched on a bit of what I was going to say, and Mike Miller, appreciate your stance as well. But I'm gonna go in a little bit different direction. I think what happens here is people have to take a step back and realize not everybody looks at the anthem the same way, and in order for that to happen, we have to understand why the anthem prominence. And it was, like Max said, and I'm going to put a time frame to it. It was played a little bit in World War I. There was some controversy over making Yankee Doodle Dandy the anthem as opposed to this. However, they felt this had more, like fire and brimstone and could bring emotions out of people. So during World War II, this is when it really started to ramp up. Now, why this time frame matters is because when troops came back from World War II, there was a particular group of people excluded from the GI Bill, right? That would be black soldiers that fought in the war that were not able to get no student loans, no home loans, none of that. And it even hit home here in New York. Levittown, Long Island was the first American suburb, and Levitt and Sons, they were the first people, right, to put stipulations and redline and say, hey, these people are not allowed to buy homes in our town. And even to this day, we can see the effects. Levittown is, I believe 96% white. So when people say that the anthem is for us to bring us together, the anthem didn't do that in the late 1940s, and it still doesn't do that today. And when people say, not singing the anthem is dividing us, no. Because you can't say in one breath that you care about the military and the troops and you care so much about a song which is symbolic, but not speak on the homeless vet problem we have in this country, not speak on the massive amounts of stress that are put on our soldiers when they fight these endless wars that to the normal people, we don't even know why we're over there for this long. So there's a lot of factors at play when it comes to the anthem. And I think when we stop focusing more on symbols and we focus more on people getting together and understanding each other from different perspectives, then we can have progress. But when we start putting symbols above people, there won't be progress.
All right, Greg, NBA team, thank you guys so much. I'll chime in with you guys next week.
I gotta say one thing before we leave.
Go ahead.
I'll give a special shout out. All right, fans, I'm gonna say this. This is my last time talking about this. Eddie Gonzalez, you are not a Nets fan, bro.
Oh.
Nobody. Listen.
Speaking of him saying that.
Listen here. You are not. We don't respect you as a Nets fan. I don't care if you pull up a Dr. J autograph signed jersey from the 70s, bro. You was on LeBron since you jumped in this group. You was riding the championships with LeBron. You came in every chat. That's how another one, DJ Khaled, for people who don't understand why I always put another one, it's whenever a conversation comes up that we never talk about LeBron, and Eddie just finds a way to connect it to LeBron, and then I find up using it for everybody else who just brings up other people that we're not talking about. You are not a Nets fan, bro. You don't get to just jump from the West Coast to the East Coast, Tupac to Biggie. Yeah, come on here, man. You are not a Nets fan, bro. You are not a Nets fan. You are not a Nets fan, man. I don't care.
Eddie, you have a quick rebuttal on that?
Show me your room.
First,
show me your room, man.
Listen,
I gotta see a Nets jersey.
I don't. All I got is Babe Ruth. I'm good. Listen, this is the first time I'm ever on the mic with Mike Miller.
Sucker MC.
That's the sucker MC. That's the guy who got me that got me hooked in the group, bro. What's good?
But what's your rebuttal to Mac? What do you guys say to Mac?
Okay, to Mac, let me tell you. Anytime you want to quiz me, you want to put me head to head with Manny, whatever you want.
No.
I'm a Net fan. I'm not a Brooklyn Net fan. I'm a Net fan. I'm from all of the struggle. I'm from 1990s struggle. I'm from Armand Gilliam, Yinka Dore. I'm from all of that. What are you talking about?
I think you're a basketball fan.
I'm a Ewing fan.
I think you're a basketball fan.
Ewing is the go to me.
Mac, you wasn't with him with Jason Williams. You wasn't with him with Jason Williams, man. You wasn't with him when he was with Jason Williams.
I'm not doubting he rooted.
You wasn't with him with Kendall Gill, man. Come on, Mac. Come on, man.
I'm not doubting.
Buck Williams was even on the Nets.
I'm not doubting in the early 90s he was a Nets fan. Listen to the difference. I'm not doubting that. Because there's a lot of people that when their team are good, they were fans. So, like, I knew a lot of Utah Jazz fans in the 90s. I saw a lot of Stockton jerseys of people in New York City who may have liked Stockton in the 90s. But once the Jazz got trash, all of a sudden they were picking different teams. That's what Edward, because it says Edward. You're not Eddie right now. You're Edward. That's what Edward, he did that. The Nets got trash. He jumped with LeBron and didn't talk about the Nets for like 2 years in this group. I kid you not. It was 2 years of him never talking.
What are you talking about?
The Knicks is trash every year.
All right, Mac, we got to jump.
No, wait, Carl. Every year the Knicks is trash. I'm talking about the Knicks. Every year.
For Knicks fan, he came clean. That's what that is. The pain of a Knicks fan. He said,
no, it's not the pain.
Was trash. Why can't
Mac,
you ride with your
I gotta jump to the baseball segment, man. We gotta continue this next week.
Segment?
The baseball.
Don't do that, Mac. Don't do that, Mac.
Get out of here, basketball.
I'm gonna talk to the basketball team. I'm gonna talk to you guys soon. You guys take care. Thank you for joining me. I love you guys. I'll talk to you guys next week. You guys be good. You're watching the Sports Tips by the fans and for the fans.
Edward.
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Thank you for joining us. Please make sure you check out all the other shows on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We got Below the Mic on Wednesdays. We got the Crush with Errol Marks on Saturdays at 7 p.m. on 103.9. We got the Ryan Hickey Show Mondays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. The Falco Takeaway is also on there, too. We got Weapons Hot on Sundays at 7 p.m. It covers all your Jets off the mat. Saturdays at 12, so make sure you check out all of the shows. And we got the B Show premiering tomorrow on Thursday. My wife is getting her show, The B Show. The Sports Illustrated presents The B Show Thursdays at 5 o'clock. Make sure you tune into that. Declan is also the Sports Illustrated presents a Smoke and Mirrors podcast with the Poliak brothers, Greg and Stefan Polius, which is, I believe, coming Mondays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Make sure you check that out. Gentlemen, Manny Chef is in the building.
Hold on. Shout out to you for memorizing that call. That was dope.
I try, man. I try.
That's the media, man.
That's what I do. Manny
Schefter working here.
Manny Schefter, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, gentlemen. I'm almost done with work. Finally, 2 more minutes.
Don't get yourself in trouble, man. Don't get yourself in trouble streaming at work, brother.
I'm not. Hey, nah. I'm technically I'm clocked out. I already clocked out already. So
Eddie, how you doing, sir? Listen, I didn't know that roasting was coming, brother.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. That was actually good. I appreciate you bringing me in. First time on the mic with Mike Miller. That's my guy right there.
You guys, Greg was already here from the previous segment. Declan, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad that nobody came on the mic today as drunk as Tom Brady was at the parade.
It's tough to start this segment with some sad news. Pedro Gomes passed away. Pedro Gomes, longtime ESPN reporter covering baseball. Gomes, excuse me. Pedro Gomes. Manny, what are your thoughts here, man?
It's sad. I actually did a little bit of research, and I actually realized that from 2003, which he started working for ESPN, he has covered a lot of controversial things throughout baseball history with ESPN. But even before that, he was part of the Oakland A's organization when they had Ricky Henderson, Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire. He was there during the steroid era for 3 years with Barry Bonds, following him. He was there when the Bartman Bull was caught and Moises Alou went crazy. And then the Marlins ended up winning and going to the World Series and beating the Yankees. He's done a lot for baseball. And from what I've known, based on nobody really had any issues with him. Everybody had a lot of respect for him, especially athletes. And he asked the very tough questions. Like, imagine yourself as a reporter going to the after the finals is decided, like the game is over, the champions are crowned, and you go to the losing team's locker room and ask all the hard questions to these players who are demoralized and defeated. Like, he did that, and these players still answered the questions and gave him a lot of respect. So it's a huge blow to baseball.
Greg, what are your thoughts here, man?
I mean, you know how in the NBA you guys have like certain announcers or personalities that like resonate with you. I know for you, you really enjoyed Mike Breen, right?
Yeah.
And some people in football may enjoy Joe Buck in football, even though I think he stinks.
Joe Buck is the great. Let's not talk about that. We already know this.
But Gomes was that type of figure in baseball where when it came to reporting, it was Peter Gammon, Pedro Gomes.
Yeah.
And, you would turn on Baseball Tonight on SportsCenter and they would be reporting, and it's one of those voices that can never leave. So, it's very sad.
Declan, quick thoughts here?
Yeah, it sucks. Guy was loved by many. He was young, too. He wasn't even 60. Unexpected. I know he has a son in the Red Sox organization who's a pitcher. I think his name is Rio. So thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his friends, his colleagues, and all of his fans.
Eddie?
I was actually trying to do some research because it's very sad. I'm trying to see what people thought about him. And what a lot of them said was that while he was covering the baseball, he was covering the stories that his life was a story and how his family came from Cuba. His mother was pregnant. They sent him here from Cuba. He was born here. They left his father over there. They drew a map for him to get to his father. He looked like he lived a pretty hectic life coming from a pretty hectic environment. So, he was a blessing to baseball. He represented baseball as well as anybody. He's respected very highly, like a Roberto Clemente,
Rest in peace. And thoughts and prayers out to him and his family. It seems like every day or every other week we're losing someone, a prominent sports figure or someone that we know. So on behalf of the Sports Hitless family, even the Worldwide Sports Radio Network family, we wish his family all the best during this tough time. Moving along to baseball, a couple of days away, spring training. You guys excited, or you guys kind of? And now we just got word that the fans are coming back. I'm not too pleased about that, and I'm going to be very vocal that I need to go back to school before fans can go back to stadiums. I'm sorry, and if anyone doesn't like what I have to say, too bad. That's how I feel about it. I know some of you guys are excited about going to sporting events, but I think it's a travesty that we could open up stadiums and have 10% or how many people in stadiums, but kids are still using Zoom and still don't have the proper resources to get a proper education. But guys, what do you guys take on baseball coming back soon and actually having fans this year? Manny?
I'm hyped, but you and me have spoken, especially through the group chat and stuff. And shout out to every single teacher out there, trying to educate these kids through a computer screen, especially with like 20 to like 40 kids at one time for one class to like learn this stuff. It's a struggle. I mean, I've seen my sister struggle with it. And honestly, if you go back in the day, I don't think any of us would be able to learn any of that material while at
hell
home.
no.
Because we'll be distracted. That's really it at the end of the day. So much respect to you guys for that. I mean, as a fan, I'm definitely hyped. I'm definitely looking to getting tickets to go. But I think why wait till now to do it? They could have done this before. Just New York in general. New York could have done this earlier, just like a lot of the other states that have allowed it. But again, like you said, the resources and stuff, we need to focus on things that are more important. Yes, but at the end of the day, it's all about money. That's what it really comes down to.
So, Greg, I know you wanted to discuss MLB's new rules on COVID testing. What are your thoughts here with that? And could you explain to the fans briefly what new rules they have in place?
So there's a couple things. It seems like there's something new coming out every day. Now players have to wear I believe it was a contact tracing device. Yeah, contact tracing device. I don't know how that's going to work, if it's going to be lightweight, how it's going to affect movement.
MLB is acting like a crazy girlfriend right now.
Isn't it like a ring?
I'm not sure what it is.
I thought it was a ring. Some of my doctors in my hospital have a ring. It's for COVID tracing.
But does that affect pitchers? Like, how is that going to work? You know what I mean? Because even a ring on your glove hand could sometimes not be comfortable. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that was confusing is they said within 5 days, they have to, make sure they're tested and all that. But then spring training starts in less than 5 days. So it's very confusing on, the parameters they're putting out. And I don't know how it's going to affect each and every organization. I feel like they should have done this well before the week before spring training.
Well, that's because they couldn't get anything together with money, and there was disagreements that were pretty petty.
Didn't last year the Miami Marlins, majority of their players had COVID?
They missed a bunch of games.
Yeah. Eddie, do you think these new rules will work and stop the spread and stop, I guess, contact tracing? We see the NBA right now struggling with that. They don't even know what contact tracing is. Will this work with baseball?
I don't know, because the problem is that every state has their own COVID guidelines.
Yeah.
Some states are more open than others. So if you're telling me a team like the Atlanta Braves, a team like the Florida Marlins or whatnot, yeah, they're probably going to still have
Miami Marlins.
Miami Marlins. A team like in California, like there's a lot of teams. Like in New York, it might be a little bit different. We have a little bit more COVID restriction. But to be honest with you, I don't know how much is going to work until most people get on board. That's what it is. I know that they're assuming that it's going to work because people are getting vaccinated. A lot of people are getting vaccinated. Hopefully that helps. I don't know.
All right, Greg, I know you wanted to touch upon the universal DH designated hitter debate. Is it a debate? What's the issue here?
It's absolutely a debate because you have. I think baseball might have the most stubborn fan base of any sport.
I don't know about that. I could debate for basketball because
bro.
They changed the All-Star game to a draft.
Baseball got y'all beat. You should see some of the stuff I read, man. It's cringeworthy. But the universe. So me as someone who's been a baseball manager, who's have managed games where pitchers hit, like there's a certain nostalgia about being able to manage a game differently when it comes to having a pitcher hit. However, is it good for baseball in terms of drawing in fans and trying to grow the game? No, it's not. You remember that saying, chicks did the long ball back in the 90s?
The commercial with Greg Maddux and Tom Glover.
Yeah, it's the truth. People want to see offense. It's the same in the NBA, same as in baseball. People want to see offense. Pitchers don't bring offense. I think their collective batting average was under 200. So that doesn't help. And you also give a hitter another spot in the lineup, so it helps.
All right. Eddie, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, to be honest with you, they should do a universal DH because the simple fact is an American League team couldn't let the pitcher hit. If they want the pitcher to hit, they can leave the pitcher in, but then the pitcher's going to hit the remainder of the game, right? Let it be. I don't think that is right to, for an American League player, a pitcher, to go and do something that they don't do. They're going to get hurt. Remember Chin-Ming Wang? Remember Chin-Ming Wang in Houston?
Oh, my dad was so pissed. I was 5 years old. That was the first time.
But that ruined his career. He was a potential Cy Young winner almost every year. He wasn't going to be the Cy Young, but he was close.
Slow your horses.
That might be a little.
He was in the top five. He was in the top five of pitchers in most of the years. And he rounded. He went. I think he touched home plate, third base. Yeah, and
he's rounding third, and he did something.
He tore his thing up. His career was never the same. So,
and you know what, Eddie? You know what the score of that game was?
What's up?
They were up 13-0. I don't know how I remember that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, for pitchers to get hurt to do that, when they're really going to either be there bunting, taking pitches and just looking, what does it do? Just put a universal DH.
Declan, what are your thoughts here with the DH situation?
As somebody who pitched, I'm not ready for that. But in terms of the game, yeah, it'll be better. But I do think that I don't like the expanded playoffs. Greg and I disagree on that. But the 7-inning doubleheaders, I love. I think that's actually.
Can you let the guy get to his questions, man? We got a whole rundown.
oh, my bad. And I said that. In terms of the universal DH, I would miss guys like Jacob deGrom hitting, or Bumgarner. He's only 31, but it feels like he's 40. So I'll stick to I'll miss some of the Mets pitchers hitting. But otherwise, I guess it's kind of inevitable. I would like to see maybe a year or two so I can, say goodbye to
Carl, you see what I mean about the stubbornness? It's on the right here.
100%. Baseball, the commissioner, the board, the fans, they treat it like it's church. You cannot change anything. That's exactly what they treat it as. And the idea that NBA fans can be more stubborn. The NBA All-Star Game turned into a fantasy draft, and no one batted an eye. No one cares. Baseball fans are the most stubborn. I can't even believe I'm so glad they took away the stupid rule of home field advantage in the All-Star Game. That's been their best improvement in 10 years.
Manny, what are your thoughts?
At first I didn't like it, but due to recent history and stuff like that it's a huge risk for pitchers to bat. I enjoyed when Bartolo Colon hit the home run against the Padres, I believe. That was hilarious. But that's not. Yeah, but the thing is, that's not an everyday kind of thing. So, there probably are going to be pitchers pissed off. Like growing up, I remember Mike Hampton, Greg Maddux. There were pitchers that can hit the ball. But again,
Dontrell Willis.
Yeah, Dontrell Willis was good too. There was another one I forgot.
There
was another one in the.
Did he
do American League? But I don't want to
think of it like this.
Yeah.
Wainwright.
Carl, think of it like this: the hitting 300 is considered good. That's a benchmark for a really good hitter.
Mm-hmm.
A pitcher hitting 220 is considered great. Just to give you an idea of how bad they are.
And 3 home runs all year.
It's phenomenal. For sure. And my last question here we have is the potential for the 7th inning doubleheaders and the impact it will have on the game. How much of an impact will it have, Eddie?
I think it has a impact with the relief pitchers. It's kind of hard to bring in, or you're going to wear these arms down if you're in 2 tight games on a 7-inning doubleheader. You're not going to want to reuse your bullpen guy. So I think that it's going to take a big toll on the relief pitching. I'm not such a fan of the starting on second base thing. I don't know if that's part of the same question, but the starting on second base thing, I don't like that at all. I know it's, I don't like to rush the game. I don't think that baseball is a game that needs to be rushed. If it needs to be rushed, then don't watch. That's it.
More stubbornness on display, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
You're gonna start calling people out for being stubborn now? That's your new play?
Absolutely. All right. So Declan may agree because he's probably done this himself. In New York City, when you play in certain leagues, some of the leagues, they play 2 7-inning doubleheaders. And some of those games are the most intense, fun games you'll play because the lack of those 2 later innings changes the entire game. So if a team scores 2 runs in the second inning, that's a big deal, right? And it puts more pressure. And to Eddie's point about the runner, about pitchers, I actually think this helps pitchers because now starters can go longer. Relievers won't be as stressed because they don't have to pitch so many innings. And you carry a staff of 12 or 13 guys and you have 5 starters, and the rest relief pitchers, you can really mix and match your guys in those 2 games for an inning or 2. So if a starter gives you 5 innings, that's a great game for him. And with the runner on second base, and shout out to Tom Kenny, he said, pitchers are going to start throwing underhand. And this speaks back to the stubbornness of the sport and the stubbornness of the fans. What a runner on second base does is adds to the intensity. People keep saying how baseball is boring. You put a runner on second base to start the top half of an inning. Every single pitch matters because if you go 3-0, now you have 2 guys on base and you don't know what the offense is going to do. They could bunt the guy over. It could be second and third, less than 1 out, and all the pressure's on the defense. But then on the flip side of that, the home team has a chance to do the same thing. And that's the intensity that's been missing. And playoff baseball kind of added to that intensity with the, the added games. But we don't have that, in these extra inning games where sometimes we're seeing, 14, 15 innings, and it's just like, all right, I want to go to sleep now. And I'm talking for the casual fan, not like a baseball person like me who can watch that. I'm talking for the casual fan. This would draw them in more so than anything ever has.
Before I let you guys go, I want to touch upon something real quick that somebody mentioned about Joe Buck. And I need to talk about Joe Buck
is trash.
Real quick because everyone seems to throw it out there that they don't like Joe Buck and he's trash and he's this and he's that. I personally don't have a problem with Joe Buck. And I listen to a lot of these announcers. I've listened to him do baseball games. I've listened to him do football games. We have Mike Breen, Kevin Harlan. They do backs and forth between games. So what's the issue with Joe Buck? What's the problem? Is this
Joe Buck as a football announcer? He's cool. I don't really have no problem with him. But Joe Buck as a baseball announcer, next to Joe Morgan, is one of the worst people I've ever heard calling a baseball game. The inaccuracies, the pit, it's just this. He's all over the place, and it's really frustrating as somebody who knows the game to listen to him call a game like he knows what he's talking about when he really doesn't.
Oh, you didn't give a shout out to Michael Caine.
Michael K's not bad either.
But my fans don't really like him.
He's very good.
Michael K is very good.
Michael K is better on his show than he is in the booth.
His show is really good, but he's good in the booth too. I'll give him both.
Good as
my favorite Joe Buck moment was the All-Star game. It was Derek Jeter's last All-Star game, and he's in the locker room of the American League, and he's talking and stuff, and Jeter literally tells him, "Stop, we're preparing for the game." Pretty much, he just said, "F you, get out. We don't like you. We're trying to focus on this All-Star game."
All right, that was like a joke for the promo.
Oh, it was great though. I loved it because I would do the same thing. Joe Buck can catch the hand, right? There we go.
Joe Buck. Sometimes I feel like he announces
keep it up with the gnome jokes.
Keep
it up. Keep it up.
He announces these big moments like he's at a funeral. Or I don't know. Sometimes there's just no enthusiasm. I don't even have a huge problem with him. But you'll even see the Super Bowl, when Plaxico Burress catches the touchdown. I mean, I think he hates New York. That could be it. But he's just Plaxico Burress, touchdown, Giants lead. There's 35 seconds left.
You can tell there's an enthusiasm in his voice. Everyone has their own moniker. His voice raises a little bit, though, whenever there's a nice play.
You're biased because you like
the passes.
God!
That's what he sounds like.
I am a little bit biased for the media guys because to do a play-by-play game, it's not an easy task.
No.
And I know that I know that a lot of them that are not great. Trust me. The analyst guys, fine. You could crash on the analyst guys, but I think in terms of the play-by-play, the guys are called.
They're players.
Alex Rodriguez is a better play-by-play guy than Joe Buck.
Alex Rodriguez does play-by-play.
He does color. Yeah.
He does color. He doesn't do play-by-play.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, he can't do play-by-play is when you're calling the game, when you're calling every single play of the game. He can't do
Jim Nance, Joe Buck.
Yeah, Joe Buck. You have Kevin Harlan does it. Who else? Marv Albert's son.
Al Michaels.
Al Michaels. Those are guys. And I think again,
Ian Eagle.
Maybe because Joe Buck got it passed down from his dad, which is why maybe he gets a little bit more hate than other people. But I don't have a problem with Joe Buck. I don't mind it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Can we go back to the 7-inning thing?
Real quick, go ahead before we go. Yeah.
All right, because I know Manny and I wanted to touch upon it. Yeah,
I didn't even get my take.
I know. I agree with what a lot of Greg was saying about 7-inning games are so intense. Also, like, and then the second base thing quickly, but 7-inning games, like from a fan standpoint, like Greg said, trying to draw in fans and more revenue, if that's what we're going for in the sport, like you're bringing in, like the third inning is more interesting now if it's a 7-inning game. But to go against Greg's point of, this helps relievers. It might not, because if it's a 3-run game in the third inning, you might see a starter get pulled. We're also now getting talks that pitching rotations we're going to have to see 6 guys. A lot of teams are going to use 6-man rotations as a result of these doubleheaders, because it's taxing on the starters and the bullpen to do 2 doubleheaders on a Saturday. If they do regular scheduled, or if they do it just for postponement purposes, regardless, teams are going to have to think of having 2 long men or a 6-man in the rotation, which I think that's fine. That's good for baseball. More jobs, more pitching. That's great. As far as the guy on second, the runner on second base goes, I don't really love it that much, but this year it's a must. And during COVID and everything, we cannot have 15-inning games, 16-inning games, 17, 18-inning games. It can't happen. So it's a necessity to have the runner on second base, whether you like it or not.
Manny.
Really quickly, I actually like the 7-inning doubleheaders. I didn't like it at first, but until I started watching the games last year when they had the 7-inning doubleheaders, like I even spoke to my pops about it when we were watching one of the Yankee games, and it's like it gives you a playoff type of atmosphere in a way.
Super intense.
So it's awesome, and then you add the runner on second. It kind of brings you those moments like when you were younger, before you were playing, like if you were just playing out with your friends, like with a wiffle ball, with a hardball, and everything like that, or a sponge ball. And you created these scenarios like, all right, runner on second or bases loaded, 2 outs, no balls, no strikes. You get this guy out, it's over. You're gonna win the championship. It gives you that kind of feel. So I'm actually adjusting to it, and I feel like it would help baseball more. And plus, MLB still got better ratings. Let's go.
Yeah, we were just discussing about how MLB needs those ratings and, how they can't compete and they don't market their players. I was actually talking about that, about what's the best way. I may make a presentation on how the MLB could better market the game more ratings.
Really frustrating because
let's create it and make some money off of it.
You can pick out football players on the street that wear helmets that hide their face for the majority of the game. But if you put somebody next to Mike Trout, they won't know who he is.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, stop it. I will recognize Mike Trout from a mile away.
Declan, that's you don't count.
You don't count. You don't count.
Best player in baseball is in my hood. Unbelievable.
They're talking about regular casual fans, people that don't watch baseball,
you think
don't know.
Jay Lex knows what Mike Trout looks like?
Yeah. No, he only knows what Scottie Pippen looks like. That's the problem. Guys, thank you for joining me here on the Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. Please make sure you check out all of Sports Hit List content, also Worldwide Sports Radio Network content. You can download their app. You can check out their website for all the latest things. Again, please make sure you check out the B Show. I know Declan is a special guest on that show tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Featuring the Misses, the B Show, the Sports Hit List presents at 5 o'clock tomorrow live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And the Smoke and Mirrors podcast with the Poliar brothers, Greg and Steffer and Declan is coming soon, Mondays and Fridays at 1 o'clock. Make sure you check it out. Like, share, comment, subscribe. NFL team is on vacation. How is it? It's great not to have Travis to talk about cookies and the Cookie Monster and all this other nonsense. He's not here. It's great. We don't have to see them until April. I will took my digs at the NFL team. My man Eddie pulling up with is that Corona bottle?
Is that Florida
water? What is this?
What is happening now?
I don't know, man. The shenanigans are all time.
Whose man's is this?
It's your man's. That's your man.
Nah. Settle down.
Hey, man.
That's your man.
I just got one question. Is Deb going to talk about how Trevor Bauer screwed over the Mets? Because you didn't ask me that question.
I don't know, man. You can answer that right now before we go if you want.
I just want to say I cannot wait for my episode tomorrow. I already got my sweater picked out. I'm coming in like Mr. Rogers in the cut. I'm so excited. I'm going to get asked, but no offense, I've never been more excited to go on camera.
Did you want to talk about the Mets getting screwed or no?
Let me.
Did Greg with his little David Wright undershirt?
Can I bring it to light?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
So I was the one that actually worked on this. behind the scenes. I'm the one that told Trevor about, do this for my friend Greg Manfred and just get him hyped because I know he was gonna come at me, especially Yankee fans. And I told him, yo, just ease it, just be like, yeah, I'm gonna come to the Mets. I gave him the hat idea, the Met hat, and he signed it and everything and tried to sell it. Then I said, yo, just go to LA, all right? Thank you.
Your 30 seconds is up, B. Get out.
So Yankee fans,
one last quick shout out to the Multiverse podcast. Jillian Cohn, who's the social media director for the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You can catch her podcast, Multiverse, on Anchor and Spotify. You guys take care. We'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you guys next week. And have a good week. Stay blessed. All right.
Stay safe.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.